Merab Dvalishvili ran into Petr Yan at the Fighter Hotel. The two are set to fight this weekend at UFC Las Vegas.
When you want to do? When you want to do interview? No, just put the notion interview like video like this. When do you want to go? Because we don't have any press conference. You understand? Let's do it. Because I ask you a question. After fight. No, before fight. After fight. Before fight, let's go. Before fight, let's go.
To promote fight.
Promote fight, bro. No.
Stipe Miocic made an appearance on the Believe You Me podcast this week with Michael Bisping and Anthony Smith. Stipe tells them that he thinks Ciryl Gane just got caught up in the pressure, more so than his deficiencies in wrestling.
Why were you so sure? You were pretty positive it was going to be Jon Jones.
Well, no, at first it was Ciryl. I leaned towards him because he was more active. You know, he's a hell of a fighter. And then the more we thought about it, the more I talked to people, and just, I don't know, I kind of was even with it, you know, and in hindsight, you know, it's a bigger fight, of course, you know what I mean? So definitely.
All right.
Yeah, where it works out.
Let me ask that a different way, Stipe. What do you think of Ciryl Gane?
Honestly, I think he just got caught up in the lights. I think he just
You don't think it's because of his deficiencies at wrestling?
I mean, he worked on it. I know Jon Jones ain't Francis Ngannou strong, but I think he didn't look like himself really. I said he'd fight a few times, you know, he just that punch he threw was kind of wild. You know, like those punches are later in the rounds when both guys are tired. Right. You're not gonna get, you know you can get away with it just because he ain't moving as fast. They just throw it out there. But I think I was talking in one interview. I think maybe that he just threw it just to make some action going. He was kind of thinking back down a little bit. And I think Jon made him. You know, that's what Jon was looking for, and Jon did what he was supposed to.
Are you happier that it was Jon? Like, I think Jon's probably the tougher matchup, but as far you've always, not that I think that you've ever really given a shit what anybody thinks, but you know, to add that on to, you know, already Jon might be the greatest of all time, right? That's what everybody says, and you're always been pegged the greatest heavyweight of all time. Is it more important for you for it to be Jon to just solidify that legacy, to maybe have both of
make
those?
it stronger, bigger, you know, like just cement it, man. Just really just icing on the cake for me, you know. And he, you know, he's a hell of a fighter. Listen, he's the best of the best. He's, you know, the dude's, you know, the GOAT. But you know, like I said, he's undefeated. Unfortunately, right now he hasn't fought me, so that's gonna change.
So what would the approach be? Well, first of all, is it locked in international fight week? I mean, I know it's not locked in terms of contract.
Yeah,
have you both verbally agreed?
I agreed. So
right. Yeah.
I think he was down for it too. I mean, he was saying a lot after the fight and during press conference. So,
John McCarthy and Josh Thomson on the Weighing In podcast react to Dana White saying Francis Ngannou will never be in the UFC again. Big John says that with Jon Jones back and fighting well at heavyweight, Dana probably feels as though the UFC does not need to negotiate with Francis anymore.
Like, this comes down, when you say there's no possibility, I believe Dana is right, because Ngannou wants certain things that are more important to him than money, and the UFC is not willing to give those things. So I think Dana's right. I think this is one that's not going to happen unless Ngannou decides, okay, I don't need them. I don't care about the sponsorship. I don't care about the fighters having representation. These are the things that he's caring about. These are the things that he's saying, this is more important to me than how much money I make. And those are things that the UFC is not going to give him. So why, when you look and you go, he cannot negotiate with him, because I already know going in, you want things that I'm not going to give you.
I wouldn't say that's the only reason. Francis is what, 37?
Yeah, somewhere around. Not 30, 35, 36, I think.
Jon Jones is my
36?
champ now.
Yeah, well, and that's, look at, these things make a difference in this world. 36,
Yeah,
they make a difference.
It does.
And when you have all of a sudden Jon coming back and now fighting, and especially fighting well, it's easy to sit there and go, now he said this before the fight, so I'm not saying Dana's saying it because Jon won, but it's easy to look and say, yeah, you know, I can't negotiate with him, and I'm not going to try anymore. I'm done.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, would I love to see Francis back there? I like to see Francis fighting the best because he's great to watch. There was the little bit of a discourse between Francis tweeting something out, nice victory to Jon Jones, and but you know, something about still the heavyweight, you know, king or something like that, and Jon saying you're a big
Oh wow. Wow.
you're a super muscular guy with a or something like
Oh
that.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was like, you didn't have to go there, dude.
Daniel Cormier does not believe Jon Jones should be pound for pound number one. DC also explains why it's hard for him to consider Jon the GOAT. On the DC and RC show, DC went on to say, I think it's hard to really argue the greatest of all time, when Jones has now gone up to heavyweight and won the championship because of what he did at light heavyweight. This always puts me in a tough position, because I will always say guys that have bad things attached to their name should not be held on high. I think especially with the drugs and the steroid failures and all those types of things, I think when you have those things, it's hard to call you the greatest of all time. And I know Anderson Silva and all those guys, but I think Jon Jones is in the conversation because he becomes a heavyweight champion, and now he's won belts in 2 weight classes. On whether or not Jon should be pound for pound number one, DC said I don't, for my opinion, believe he should be number one pound for pound. I think Alexander Volkanovski should stay there. I don't think he should be the number one pound for pound fighter in the world, but I have no issue with it if people have voted that. Today in an interview with DAZN Boxing, Jorge Masvidal went off on Colby Covington.
Dana White. Power. Colby Covington.
Snitch. Slut. Faker. Guzzler.
And that's going to wrap it up for the news. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to subscribe to Full Mount MMA and click the bell icon to be notified when we post future ones. Here are the 3 top comments from last video. The first one's in reference to Dan Hooker saying that the UFC is going to punish him for the accusations he made against Islam Makhachev. The first one's from Lil Jeep. It says Dan really pulled the Uno reverse card out after being asked to show evidence. The second one's in reference to Nick Diaz saying that he wants to return to the UFC against either Israel Adesanya or Alex Pereira. It says, Nick, I love you, man, but Izzy or Alex would take you apart. I was heartbroken watching you in your last fight. Stay out of the octagon, buddy. And the final one's from A. Brown. It's in reference to the footage of Israel Adesanya laughing at Jon Jones. It says, so no one's going to talk about Izzy still having his Christmas tree up?
My Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ.
Those were the 3 top comments from last video. If you want to be featured on the next one, all you have to do is comment down below. If you missed yesterday's news, click the video on screen to get caught up. And make sure to go subscribe to our second channel where we post our exclusive MMA interviews.